Before starting this video, I do want to give a thank you to my patrons that support the channel. And if you would like to support the channel, there are some great benefits for you in the link down below. So with that, let's get into today's video. What's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on Pub Stomp MTG. So I'm quite excited for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. There's a new card that I do want to discuss with you. I feel like this new card could see CEDH play. Again, this is more theorizing because the card hasn't been released yet, and this is more of me brewing around this specific commander. So today I'm going to talk about the Ancient One. What really caught my eye about this commander is the fact for one blue and a black, it is an 8/8 body. So overall, that's pretty crazy. Let's see what the rest of it does. So it does have Descend 8, so very similar to the Ascend mechanic. However, you need to have more permanent cards in your graveyard instead of on the battlefield. So it does have Descend 8. Ancient One can't attack or block unless there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. So I feel like this condition is very easy to do compared to the Ascend mechanic. The Ancient One does also have an activated ability by paying 2 blue and a black, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discarded a card this way, target player mills cards equal to its mana value. So in a weird way, this kind of reminds me of Yuriko because you want to have a lot of high mana cost cards in your library so that you can mill more cards yourself. And also what's very neat about this commander, it is an infinite mana outlet. So to give you my first thoughts and impressions about this card, I feel like it's very powerful in the right type of situation. Of course, we are in Dimir colors, so in a CEDH setting, there's a lot of different combos you can put in this deck. You are in the colors of Thassa's Oracle and also Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation, so there's an easy, quick way to win in this deck. Also, what's very nice about the Ancient One is the fact that it does have an infinite mana outlet stapled onto it. You could use cards like Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal so that you could get that infinite mana so that you could draw a card, discard a card, mill some cards. You could also mill out your opponents. I mean, you will probably have enough cards in your deck to mill out your opponents completely. I would prefer to actually self-mill myself. If you do have some Reanimator spells in your hand, you could easily reanimate a Thassa's Oracle at the end of the loop so that you could win the game. Aside from Thassa's Oracle and also infinite mana outlets, what I do like about this commander is the fact that it kind of gives you a beatdown plan, especially for 2 mana. It's just blue and a black for an 8/8 beater. Unfortunately, the only downside to this is it doesn't have trample, so a 1/1 Esper Sentinel could easily chump block into this. But if anything else, if your opponents don't have any creatures on the battlefield, you can just swing into them 3 swings away for commander lethal damage to one of your opponents, and you could just go 1 by 1 to kill them each. Of course, if you just take it turn by turn, waiting for a whole turn cycle, that's going to take a long time to kill your opponents. So essentially you want a way to get those extra beats on your opponents. So ways you could do that is by having extra turns. So extra turns are an interesting route with this deck, mainly because the Ancient One, it has that ability of whenever you discard a card this way, target player mills cards equal to its mana value. There are a lot of extra turn spells that do have a lot of high CMC. For example, the ones I'm thinking about is like Nexus of Fate and also like Time Warp, for example. There's a lot of others, but those are one of the most notable ones I could think of right now. You can also take advantage of Nexus of Fate because it has that ability when you do cast it, you'll just shuffle it into your library. There is a way you could get infinite turns with Nexus of Fate by using Isochron Scepter and Mystical Tutor. The big downside to this combo is the fact that it does cost a lot of mana. You'll pay 2 mana to copy the exiled card that you imprinted with, so the Mystical Tutor. You'll search your library for Nexus of Fate and put it on top of your library. Then you'll go into your new extra turn. You'll cast Nexus of Fate for 7 mana. With that cast, Nexus of Fate will be shuffled into your library. Then you can repeat that process of using Isochron Scepter's ability to copy Mystical Tutor to then search for Nexus of Fate. So this kind of acts like a plan C combo in the deck because you're already going to use Isochron Scepter with Dramatic Reversal anyways, and obviously you are going to be playing Mystical Tutor. And plus, I am going to re-emphasize this again, this commander is just for 2 mana being an 8/8, and that condition is not hard to meet. So I did want to talk about some of the combos you could run in the deck. Also, I did want to talk about a Reanimator strategy because you are drawing and discarding a card, and the higher CMC that card is, you can either mill your opponent or mill yourself. So that's why I thought of a Reanimator theme, because you could just draw and discard. You could discard a Razaketh or a Villas Broker of Blood or a Hoarding Broodlord. You can mill your opponent or mill yourself depending on which card you did mill. Then you could easily meet that requirement of Descend 8. There's obviously going to be a lot more cards in your graveyard if you do, for example, discard a Villas Broker of Blood or a Razaketh. Plus later on, you could just put them from the graveyard on onto the battlefield by using cards like Reanimate or Animate Dead. These reanimation targets aren't necessarily the win cons of the deck, they kind of just get us there. So these are really great options in the deck if you want to go for that mill theme, if you want to just discard that card, mill yourself or even more. So what I do find interesting about this commander, it's not necessarily an ad nauseum deck because you're not really trying to go turbo, but you are trying to combo out with your commander. Plus it kind of acts like a Thrasios when you think about it. I mean, I know Thrasios does have the activated ability by paying colorless mana. This does have that ability, but you only have to pay 2 blue and a black. It's a little bit more restrictive, but essentially it kind of feels like the same thing in a way. So overall, I do feel like this is a pretty fun and interesting commander to try a build around and test around. Again, I feel like this is kind of like a mix between Yuriko and also Vohar. You want to have big spells in your library, and you also want to take advantage of Dramatic Reversal and Isochron Scepter. So if you are planning to build around this commander, I actually made a deck list down below if you want to go for a more detailed look to see what kind of cards I put in there specifically. So this CEDH deck tech is more of a guide for you as far as deciding what kind of cards you want to put in your deck. So let me know down below in the comments, what do you think of the Ancient one? I feel like this is very cool, having a Spirit God, and not gonna lie, I love the art so much, just having a T-Rex skull on a big giant spirit. And I'm a Timmy at heart, so seeing a 2-mana 8/8 is pretty incredible. I mean, I know there's that downside of Descend, but that's not really a downside if you're milling a lot. So with all that said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers by the end of the year, so make sure to stomp on that subscribe button, and thank you for stomping by.